Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. I'm getting ready to cast on a new sweater that's knit in the round, so I need to make my gauge swatch. And in order to get the most accurate gauge, I'm going to swatch in the round. Swatching in the round seems like it's going to be more time consuming, but it's actually not. I'm going to show you a time-saving way to swatch for any knitting project in the round. All you need is your yarn and a circular needle. Now let's get to it. A big swatch is an accurate swatch, so we want to cast on for a swatch that is at least 4 inches wide. Most patterns will give you the gauge over 4 inches, so casting on this number of stitches is a good place to start. My pattern gives a gauge of 23 stitches over 4 inches, so I'm going to cast on 23 stitches using the long tail method. After I've cast on my stitches, I am not going to turn like I would in a flat swatch. Instead, I'm going to keep the right side facing me and slide my stitches across the cord and back to my left-hand needle. The working yarn will be over to the left near the cord rather than at the tip of the needle, and that's exactly how we want it to be. Now grab your empty needle in your right hand and pick up the working yarn and carry the working yarn loosely across the back of your work to knit the first stitch. Now I like to keep my hand underneath the yarn to make sure that I keep the yarn nice and loose. Now you can just knit across this first row. When you get to the end of this row, don't turn. I'm going to keep the right side facing me and slide my stitches across the cord and back to my left-hand needle. Then, just like before, grab your empty needle in your right hand, carry the working yarn loosely across the back, and knit the first stitch in every stitch in this row. Continue working this way until you have a decent size swatch. Best practice would say about 4 inches tall, but I usually go for 2 to 3 inches. The reason this method works is that we're only knitting the right side or the knit side, just like we would if we were really working in the round. But this method saves us time by not having to double our stitch count to make a true tube, and it saves some yarn as well. Once you've completed your 2 to 3 to 4 inches, bind off using your preferred method. Now it's time to wash your swatch the way you will wash the final product. Gauge will be more accurate with a washed and blocked swatch. To make this really easy to measure, we are going to cut the strands running across the back of the swatch so that we can lay it out flat for a good measurement. Now we just have to wait for it to dry. I like to put my swatch outside so it will dry faster, and make sure you let it dry completely before measuring gauge. The last step is to measure gauge, and even though we cast on enough stitches for a 4-inch swatch, we cannot count on our swatch to measure 4 inches across. The edges really mess that up because the gauge is for a full 4 inches of whole and complete stitches. So a better way is to divide your 4-inch gauge into 2 and measure over 2 inches instead. My 23 stitches for 4 inches should yield 11.5 stitches to 2 inches. So I'm going to measure right in the middle of my swatch where my stitches are less affected by edges, cast-ons, or bind-offs. I hope you enjoyed this easy and time-saving method of swatching in the round. Let me know if you're a swatcher down below or if you like to take risks and just wing it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.